ECSA is a statutory body established in terms of the Engineering Professions Act of 2000, Act 46 of 2000, and as such regulates the engineering profession in the country through mainly three core activities. First one being the accreditation of all university programs leading towards qualifications in engineering at your traditional universities for the BSc Eng degree. We have 7 engineering faculties across the country offering engineering degrees, and then 13 universities of technology across the country who all have engineering faculties for the BTech and the National Diplomas in Engineering. Now, this accreditation process is being done in terms of international standards and requirements, and no wonder that ECSA has already achieved international recognition for the accreditation processes of all the engineering qualifications, firstly through the Sydney Accord for your BTech degrees, then your Washington Accord for your BSc Engineering degrees, and the National 3-Year Diploma in Engineering is recognized through the International Dublin Accord. As most engineering practitioners will know by now, the Engineering Profession Act of 2000 was one of 7 acts which were promulgated by Parliament in 2000, regulating the full built environment in South Africa. Other acts are the Architects Professions Act, the Council for Project Managers, and the Quantity Surveying Council, and the overall umbrella body of all these professional councils, which is called the Council for the Built Environment, or the CBE. ECSA is by far the biggest council in the built environment, with no less than 32,000 registered practitioners on its database. If we compare the Engineering Professions Act of 2000 with its predecessors, the 1968 and the 1990 Act, we will find that there is one provision that was not included in the previous acts, and that is the provision providing for renewal of registration through a process of continuing professional development. Firstly, in terms of Section 13K of the Engineering Professions Act, Council should determine conditions relating to and the nature of continuing education and training. Secondly, Section 22(1) requires that all registered persons should renew their registration. Thirdly, Section 22(1) requires that Council should determine the conditions for renewal of registration. Shortly after the implementation of the 2000 Act, Council established a representative committee of engineering professionals from all categories of registration, including academics and engineers in private practice, in industry, to investigate the best possible way of instituting a CPD system for engineering practitioners in the country. You can then safely say that the CPD system has been designed for engineers by engineers. The system accordingly was implemented as from January 2006, with the first people who had to renew their registrations in January 2007. 3 categories of CPD activities were accordingly established. Firstly, your so-called Category 1 activities or developmental activities. That's the attendance of courses, seminars, workshops, conferences. The second category being called work-based activities. ECSA has high regard for the high level of engineering work that engineering practitioners do in the country. The third CPD category is the so-called individual activities. At the end of the day, engineering practitioners will realize that it is actually very easy to comply with CPD requirements as it stands at the moment, as you can earn 2 credits up front by just doing your day-to-day job in engineering for 6 months of the year, and by mentoring young candidate engineers, technologists, technicians, you can earn the other credit in Category 2, which makes it 3, and then thirdly, by just being a member of a recognized voluntary association, you can also earn an additional credit, and that already adds up to 4. ECSA as a statutory body cannot exist on its own. That is why we are being supported by the voluntary associations, which all have to be recognized in terms of the Act. When the CPD system was implemented, ECSA accordingly had no difficulty in allowing voluntary associations to present engineering courses, seminars, workshops in their own right for their different constituencies, and also to validate the courses offered by private providers on behalf of ECSA and to allocate the appropriate number of CPD credits which are catered for by private providers. In closing, I want to mention that ECSA is getting the cooperation of about 70% of persons due for renewal annually who are willing to cooperate and to submit their CPD returns. The position, however, may change in the near future as the identification of engineering work regulations are due for implementation in the very near future. Council for the Built Environment has already confirmed that it is one of their aims to implement compulsory registration for engineering practitioners within the next year. Accordingly, ECSA may find itself in the position that they are compelled to apply the rules on renewal of registration more strictly and to cancel persons' registrations who were non-compliant with the CPD requirements. The playing field will be even, and all registered persons will have to comply with CPD at the end of the day, as it is a legal requirement, as we've already mentioned.
I'm the current Executive Director of the SAIEE Institution of Civil Engineering. My background is local authorities, railway engineering, low-cost housing, and for the last 19 years I've been the Executive Director. We actually started out in 1903 as the Cape Society for Civil Engineers. The first president was John Brown, and from there on it developed over many years, more than 100 years of course, into the current South African Institution of Civil Engineering, and we are currently representing engineers, technologists and technicians. The institution is a learned society in the old language, if you like, but ultimately it's a home for civil engineering professionals. The structure is more or less built up by branches, geographical branches, of which we have about 20. We have 9 what we call technical divisions, and these divisions actually look after water, transport, railways and harbours, etc. Then in terms of governance, we have a council, and then we have an executive board, several committees, panels, and ultimately we also have a national office of SAICE where the administration takes place. The institution is an organization that is run by the volunteer group of people, and they actually make all the decisions. The election of a president is a democratic election, council is elected democratically, and all the committees are staffed or populated with volunteers. The National Office of SAICE is the support group looking after all these committees and doing the day-to-day administration of the institution. In terms of the current legislation, the Acts of 2000 as we call it, there are a number of councils like the Engineering Council of South Africa, the architects, the quantity surveyors and so forth. We are regulated as professionals by these councils. SAICE, for example, is registered as a voluntary association recognized by the Engineering Council and by SACP-CMP. Provide volunteers to work within the ECSA structures as well, but we are not regulated by any act of Parliament. We are volunteers. SAICE is a multidisciplinary organization in the civil engineering profession, and it essentially looks after the needs of its members And one of the greatest needs, of course, is to remain technically proficient. Continued professional development is a very, very large proportion of what we do as an institution. Offering courses, publishing codes of practice, developing tools of the trade, if you like, for example, the general conditions of contract. SAICE is a living organization, and some of the issues that we battled with today is that for a long time our profession was getting older and older, and it was called the breaking wave. Currently, the bulk of the engineers in our society or in institutions membership are in the region of, say, 50 to 65 years old. But on the other hand, what has happened is that we see that the institution is getting younger and younger, and right now our membership, a quarter of our membership are actually students or young graduates, which is a very good thing to see and to observe. And what we find is that there's a lot of energy coming from these young people. But there's also a serious gap in the middle. The 30 to 40-year-olds, some of them emigrated, and in many cases it's just a question that South Africa didn't need as many professionals at the time, but we're now paying the price that we have that gap. So what did SAICE do about it? We established a Section 21 company because of the needs that we observed in the industry, in the profession. And we currently have about 350 retired engineers on our register who are currently being employed and paid for, by the way, by government funding or through government funding. And we team them up with young graduates and students looking for experiential training. So we're bridging that gap in terms of the mentorship that we have serious problems with, because our industry is so busy that few of our members who are still actively involved in consulting, contracting, have time to look after the young people. In addition, we recently established the Young Members Panel, and this panel will actually look at vertically integrating and horizontally integrating the young and the old, if you like, so that we build and develop the leaders of the future who have to take over when we are all gone. We have a united voice to speak on behalf of the profession. So if we talk to government, we talk on behalf of all the practitioners in civil engineering in South Africa, and although that value may not be well recognized, it is a major part of our work today. You get a monthly magazine, and sometimes I get letters from members, especially our younger members, who say, this is really my companion in life, and that I learn so much by being a member of SAICE, getting this magazine. In 1990, SAICE realized that the world is changing at a rapid pace, and that we cannot only look inward and look after our members alone, but that we also should be the custodians of the whole profession in South Africa. And that started a huge outreach effort. For example, in the 80s, we established what was called ProTech, Saturday Schools for Maths and Science. And ultimately, we got involved with bridge building with young people. The water competition was currently very popular. We actually intervene as we see necessary on many, many parts of the pipeline to produce the professional that runs the country in terms of infrastructure. We have to be as good as the other guys across the world in terms of our profession. That necessitated us to start reaching out to our neighboring countries and also to the world at large, especially since 1994. So ultimately, we are very much involved with capacity building across the spectrum, whether it's from young preschool kids right to trying to advise parents, right to advise the government of the day about education and training, maths and science at schools, and we actually have much to offer in that sense, trying to do our bit for the country as well. Unless we are at the same level in South Africa as the rest of the world, we can just as well close our doors and become an importer of all engineering service and all goods. So what did SAICE do? I like to say that we used and abused all opportunities to get noticed and to get networked properly, and the result is that currently SAICE has cooperation agreements with the American Society of Civil Engineers, where we are in fact highly valued as members of the International Round Table. I'm a member of the Capacity Building Committee of the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, where we are currently writing a book on capacity building for the world. We have several areas where we've sort of got noticed and where we're actually making a difference. I'd like to mention the Africa Engineers Forum that we established in 1995, and currently that is a growing force within SADC, where we club together as institutions and tackle the problems of the developed world, the developing world, and all sorts of things that we need to do to be sustainable as engineering professions and sustainable as institutions.
Hi, I'm Stan Bridgens, a director of the Institute of Electrical Engineers. I'm a professional engineer and have been part of the Institute for the last 3 or 4 years. Although I've been associated with the Institute for many years and past president in 1998. The South African Institute of Electrical Engineers is a registered voluntary association of the Engineering Council of South Africa. The Institute has been around for some 100 years. It was inaugurated in 1909. We have a membership of 5,000 members, 5,500 members, and what we're proud of is the age profile. We seem to be attracting a lot of the young members. Young engineers who are registered get a huge discount with the Engineering Council registration, and in fact pays for the registration of the SAIEE. Our niche as a learned society is the professional development of electrical engineers. And so we take great joy in being able to provide benefits for our young engineers to network with the captains of industry and also with each other in terms of their own growth within the industry. Young engineers today are, my belief is, being set up to fail because there is insufficient mentoring, and what we took for granted as young engineers, when we were young and dangerous, there was always a boss who was an engineer. Nowadays, it may not be an engineer, and so we provide mentorship. That's another huge benefit for the Institute. One of our important aspects is the welfare of the electrical engineering discipline. And we have a major part to play in the formulation of legislation that government is busy formulating for engineering in general, and of course for electrical engineering specifically. There is the bodies that represent ECSA, and the engineering profession generally around how the profession is controlled and managed. And so we play a very important part as participating in the affairs of the Engineering Council of South Africa. Legislation that has, over the last few years, has been one of our prime focuses, because not all of it was really in the interests of electrical engineering. And so we had to make representations to the Portfolio Committee and to the relevant ministers, Science and Technology, as well as Labour. And so it's one of the things that, being a member of the Institute, you know that your interests and your welfare in your career path that you have chosen is being looked after. The Institute has the only research journal in electrical and electronic engineering, which we foster and provide on a regular basis for peer-reviewed papers to be published for any engineer who not only a member but is also researching in the tertiary institutions. The other journal that we have that reaches all our membership is the What Now interest journal, and in there we communicate all our institute news, and there is also papers and the CPD development program that engineers can benefit from. In the past, electrical engineering has played a significant role in research, and a lot of good work is being done by our tertiary institutions. And to me, there's a place for the bright young minds to help and play a major role in the medical and social sciences that electrical engineering can play. The Institute has been part of the experience of the economic meltdown, and sadly it is that a lot of our engineers have in fact chosen other occupations, and they've been moved out of engineering. We see our profile of our membership, particularly the older folk, are available to do a lot of mentoring and consultancy work to assist in the skills shortage in South Africa. Transformation is another thing we're really concerned about, and that is getting people onto our council. Just recently we've changed our constitution so that we can include 6 members. Before council, our grades of membership go from member to senior member to fellow, and then office bearer. We never had members on council. Because of our age profile, we've included 6 member grade on our council, so that we have the young people that we can hear and they can be involved, and we can address their needs, because at the end of the day, they're the future for us. We're very active in the area of science and technology. This very site that we stand on is a prime site by government for the advancement of science and technology. And so what we plan to do is to have the youngsters who come to the site to do and experience the laboratories that are here, to actually come and be channeled through our artifacts, the history, and the future that we can provide. The exciting developments that are taking place, particularly in communication, is making the world so small, and it seems to be drawing the young minds to that, and we want to be part of that. Anyone who embarks on electrical engineering, the sky's the limit, because electronic and electrical engineering is not confined to just the built environment. It's space communication, it's the modern cell phone and communication technology that seems to attract the young minds. All the whiz-bang stuff that interests, the electronic games, and so on. It starts there. Of course, electrical engineering is a lot more than that. There is the power side, which is really old world stuff, but is essential in the modern day. The current shortage of capacity requires power engineers, and so we do have a shortage of that, and we need to address that. But certainly electrical engineering is exciting. We've been around 100 years. With the way things are going in terms of technology development, it's going to be around for a lot longer, and certainly going to be much more exciting.
My name is Vaughan Rimbold. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the South African Institution of Mechanical Engineering. I'm a mechanical engineer by profession. I graduated from the University of Natal in 1986. Most of my career has been spent in heavy industry as a government certificated engineer. I have enjoyed a long association with my professional body and have gained significant personal growth by being involved at a branch level, serving the local members. And I'm very proud to be the first full-time officer of the South African Institution of Mechanical Engineering. The South African Institution of Mechanical Engineering traces its roots back to 1892 with the formation of the South African Association of Engineers and Architects. For the past 117 years, the institution has enjoyed a proud tradition of providing services to its members and acting as a forum for the mechanical engineering profession. The institution exists because of its members and doesn't have an existence apart from them. The institution is governed by a constitution which has been amended over the years to reflect the changing nature and composition of the mechanical engineering profession in South Africa. The constitution sets the broad guidelines for how we operate as a body, who can belong as members, what criteria exist for their membership, and how the management and control of the institution is set up and managed on a regular basis. Driving the institution's policy and national strategy is an elected council of 12 members. The institution is also managed on a local level by 4 regional branches. Committees at each of these branches exist, also elected from the members associated with the branches, and the committees are responsible for the delivery of services at local level. SAIEE has a total of just over 2,000 members. The bulk of the membership sit in a group of grades called corporate members, and they enjoy the right to determine the strategy of the institution, to vote on changes to our constitution and other more significant matters. Another smaller group of non-corporate members is reserved for individuals who don't qualify for corporate membership, but still have an interest in mechanical engineering, and we welcome them to our institution, bringing a variety of different flavors to what we do. We also welcome qualified members with non-engineering experience into the fold, because we value experience gained in other sectors of industry. We do these days find a lot of our members sitting in the financial sector, for example, and their experience and understanding of that aspect of our economy is crucial to us as professionals. Our qualifying criteria is aligned almost identically with that of the Engineering Council of South Africa as the academic requirement leading towards registration. If you're a registered professional with the Engineering Council of South Africa and you're a member of SAIEE, you will receive a fee exemption from ECSA, which will cover your membership fee at SAIEE. So you get 2 for the price of 1. On top of that, your membership of SAIEE as a recognized voluntary association will give you 20% of your continuing professional development credits every year that you're a member. We have a monthly glossy magazine which is published and a 2-weekly email newsletter where we endeavor to keep you up to speed with what's going on in the profession, perhaps what's going on in the local economy, and to keep you informed of all the issues that will affect you as a practicing professional. Our structured program of workshops and seminars is offered to you as a member at a significant discount. And if you attend a number of these during the year, the discounts you receive will more than cover your membership fee. When asking the question, how does SAIEE benefit me? You must remember that the question is being asked to 2,000 odd fellow members. And it should be asked carefully, because the expectation of your fellow members doing something for you just because you need something done is perhaps not as realistic as it first sounds. I guarantee you that every member of this institution will be willing to help and to assist and to guide you and to give you the real benefit of being a member. But it's largely up to you to participate. It's up to you to come to the meetings. It's up to you to ask the questions. It is well worth considering that SAIEE represents the largest body of mechanical engineering professionals in the South African economy and most likely on the African continent. We are the largest store of mechanical engineering knowledge and experience, and it is vital that the institution finds a role in collating and distributing that knowledge, firstly amongst its members, but also within the greater economy within which we practice. It is vital that we generate a spirit of willingness amongst our senior members and amongst our young members, so that the transfer of this mechanical engineering knowledge is as efficient and effective as possible. That is the role for SAIEE into the future.